Okay, this is my Presto canner. It's probably close to 10 years old. It's done a lot of work, and this is basically the configuration that they come in. As you can see, it's got the pressure gauge on it. It's got the stock 15-pound jiggler. That's your vent. That's your overpressure valve. So if it gets too high a pressure in there, it'll pop that, protect whatever's left inside. And then over here is the small pop-up which comes up when it's up to pressure. Okay, this is the aftermarket jiggler, and that comes with enough rings to make 15-pound. And if you remove the first one, now it's at 10-pound, and if I remove that one, it's now at 5-pound. So for my elevation above sea level, I use it as 10-pound. However, when I'm also doing fruits, I'll use it as a 5-pound, so I don't overcook the fruit. So you can see the markings on the lid, which correspond to the markings on the handle, so that you can line it up so that you're able to put the lid on successfully. This is a small plate that they provide, and this keeps all your jars off the bottom of the canner, which stops the jars from cracking. This little lug here corresponds to this little pop-up here, which when you're up to pressure, it'll have a bit of a jiggle, as you'll see later, and then it comes up and it stays up for the duration of your cook time. Now, this is the seal, which goes in into the lid, and it sort of hooks up underneath all of these lugs. Now, this particular seal is a more expensive Presto original seal. You can buy the cheaper aftermarket jobbies, but I can tell you I do thousands of jars a year, and these, although more expensive, way outlast the cheap ones. Now they sit into this track here, and you can see that it's a loose fit. It's not a tight fit, and when I screw this together, you will also see that it's there we go. I'm just tightening that, and you can see that's not hard work. When the seals are brand new, it can sometimes be hard work, but once everything's settled in and you've been using it for a while, these things just go together nicely. Okay, so this is what I use to cook on. It's a 4-ring burner, but I don't nearly always use all 4 rings. So now you can see I've got the canner sitting on top of its burner, and at this point there's no water in here. So now what I need to do is take 2 jugs of water. So these are 1.5 litre jugs, and I'm going to put 2 in. Okay, for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to chuck some jars of water in so that I can show you what to expect when you're using a canner. So there we have the jars in, and now what I'm going to do is put the lid on and proceed to light the fire underneath it. So for the purposes of this, I've only lit 2 inside burners. I don't really, when I'm canning, I don't like to heat everything up too fast, because sometimes that'll crack jars. or blow lids off. So I like it to just heat up gently, so I've just lit 2 burners, and there's no jiggler on it at this point because I need to get it to heat up inside and produce steam. Now, I don't know if you guys can hear that, and I don't know if we're able to pick up. Yes, you can see the steam. So this is now ready, it's vented, and now it's ready. I'm only going to put the 5 pound weight on it so that I can get it up to pressure faster. Now, these are the little timers that I use. So once it comes up to pressure, I will then start the timer for the time that I want it to run. So in this case, at 5 pound, I only want it to run for 5 minutes, say 7 minutes. So there we go, I'm now set for 7 minutes. So once the rattler goes off, or the jiggler, and then that starts, you'll see that the temperature gauge will come up to about 6 pound, it will show, and then we're good to go with the timer. There you go. If you can see and hear that, you can hear that it's boiling on the inside. You've got boiling water sounds. You can see that the gauge has come up to about 6 pound, and you can also see that the rattler's now, it's rattling. It's doing what you paid it for. That's the accurate bit. So now what I'm going to do is turn some of the heat off, and there, that should be enough heat to keep the rattler going for the time I'm cooking. So now I'm going to go back to my timer and I'm going to start it. So that timer will go off and I'll just move this back over here, I think. There we go. So when that goes, we're ready to shut down. Okay, my timer's gone off. You can see that it's holding, it's got a steady rattle on the little rattler on top, and the gauge is holding at a steady 6 pound. So now I'm going to turn everything off. So I'm turning off my gas. Now that my gas is turned off, I can't open this until that little pressure release valve at the back falls down. So when the gauge gets down to 0 and the little pressure button at the back drops, only then can I take the rattler off and open up the canner. Okay, here we go. Temperature's down to 0. The pressure's down to 0. The little pressure doodad at the back has dropped. The jiggler's not moving, so I'm going to remove it. And now I'm going to open the canner. And to do that, you really need to do that with the lid tipped away from you. Did you see that? There's steam still coming out. And that way you don't burn yourself. And there you have it. And quite often, when you remove food from the canner, and I have no food here, but I do have hot jars, and I just put water in these, and that water is boiling in there. You will often find, I don't know if you can see all the little bubbles in there, that's still boiling. So at this point, it's safe to remove your jars and stack them on the bench.